Well, it's 5:30 and it's time for our joint meeting between the Aberdeen City Council and the Brown County Commission. Let's start with Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I see the county has a quorum. Carl, I better have you do a roll call for us, I guess.
Councilmember Remley.
Here.
Ronayne.
Here.
Lunsman.
Here.
Slate-Hansen.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Bunceness.
Here.
Olson.
Here.
Rux.
Here.
Mayor Leibson.
Here. And we have one item on our agenda tonight, Ordinance 190201. It is a rezoning ordinance. You want to tell us about it, Brett, please?
Sure. This is 481 for the county. The petitioner is requesting to rezone Lot 1 from A1 Agricultural District to Mini Agricultural District and rezone proposed Lot 2 from Agricultural District and Mini Agricultural District to Agricultural District. Both proposed lots 1 and 2 are part of Roar 4th subdivision. The petitioner is requesting rezoning in order to eliminate split zoning on the lot. Staff recommends approval. Planning Commission voted 7 counties, 7 city to approve.
Okay, let's do city first.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunceness, second by Rux. Questions or comments? Roll call for first reading, please. Carl.
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate-Hansen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Leibson.
Aye. Motion carries. Brown County.
County side, ordinance 481.
So moved.
Second by Biker, second by Weiss. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Entertain a motion to adjourn. Second by Weiss, seconded by Biker. We are adjourned. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome to stay for the excitement if you want. Next on our agenda, we will turn it over to our representatives from the Aberdeen Police Department and your report on vaping. Tell us who you all are, and then it's yours.
I'm Officer Nicole Embry with the Aberdeen Police Department.
I'm Officer Jeff Carlson, also with the Aberdeen Police Department.
Today I'm going to be speaking to you guys about vaping. I have a presentation here for you as well. We are going to have a video and some pictures. Some of the pictures display some bad side effects, so I'll give you a caution beforehand for that as well. First, to talk about what is vaping. It's also known as an e-cigarette. What it is, it's a battery-operated device that emits a vaporized nicotine, and that is what is inhaled, the vapor that comes with it. It was originally created in the 1960s, but not marketed until the early 2000s. It's becoming more popular with the younger demographic as it's listed as supposed to be a safer alternative to smoking. We're going to do a small little quiz first, just to see how much everybody knows. This is actually from the Surgeon General. So if you have an answer, it's going to pop up the different options. Just say it out loud. More than 6 out of 10 teens believe that occasional use of an e-cigarette caused only little or some harm. True or false?
True.
True, I think that's what they feel.
Are there prizes?
No, I should have done that. Right. Which of the following is a risk to youth and young adults who use nicotine? Depression, anxiety, other mood disorders, nicotine addiction, difficulty paying attention and concentrating, reduced impulse control, or all of the above?
All the above.
Yeah.
100% for you guys so far. Your brain continues to develop until approximately which age? 16, 18, 21, 25?
82.
25.
25. If you use e-cigarettes, you're 4 times as likely to start smoking. True or false?
False. Or true. Yeah, that's be true. Yeah.
Which of the tobacco products is most commonly used by U.S. high school students today? E-cigarettes, little cigars, or hookah? E-cigarettes.
E.
Correct. Which of the following could be reason behind youth and young adults using e-cigarettes? The availability of it, the belief that e-cigarettes are safer, curiosity, or all of the above?
All the above.
E-cigarettes are only affecting high school age students in the United States. True or false?
False.
All products that say nicotine-free are actually nicotine-free. True or false?
False.
100%. Good job. So when we talk about vapes, there's 2 different types to talk about. There's vape pods and vape mods. This picture right here gives examples of vape pods. They're smaller devices that are already loaded with a e-liquid inside of it. These are examples of vape mods. They're much bigger. The way that a vape works for a vape mod, if you look on the left-hand side of the screen, the top part is the atomizer. Then you have the coil heating, that's what heats up the liquid, and then the battery. So on the very, very left, I would put the liquid between the atomizer and the coil heating element. It would heat it up and produce the vapor that would be inhaled. What makes up the e-liquid? It has the propylene glycol, that gives it more flavor and less smoke, the vegetable glycol, and then the nicotine. And then there's going to be some flavor that goes into that as well. Now, there's a belief that vaping is much safer than smoking. We're going to talk about this. Since vaping is relatively new, the health effects are still becoming known. This is what the most health effects that we are being told and research has shown so far. Causes damage to the brain, heart, and lungs, increased blood pressure and heart rate, cancerous tumor development, migraines, vapors, tongue, nausea and vomiting, dehydration, seizures, allergic reactions, and bronchiolitis obliterans. We're going to talk about the last one, bronchiolitis obliterans. That is also known as popcorn lung. It is caused by diacetyl, which is a part of the e-liquid. In the 2002 Center for Disease Control first notified of the harmfulness of this, as it was found within a popcorn facility. The workers there were inhaling the diacetyl. It caused scars in the smallest airways within the lungs, reducing their airways and efficiency, and there's no other cure for it besides a full lung transplant. I'm going to show you exactly what popcorn lung looks like.
Yeah.
That it was what the inside of a lung would be. Now, e-liquid is not the only thing that is put into a vape to be inhaled. We have different examples here, such as meth, THC wax, honey wax. You can pretty much put almost any type of drug into a vape to have it inhaled. The very bottom of that says man dies after vaping liquid fentanyl. We're going to talk about a few different examples of that. Whoop. Okay, let me get my video here to work. This is a news story, I believe, from California over an explosion.
The word needs to get out. This is very dangerous.
Badly burned in a marijuana accident tonight. 2 victims are joining the Riverside DA in warning everyone across Southern California about the dangers of something called honey oil. It's said to be a cheaper way to get high, but it can come with a much higher cost. Here's CBS 2's Christy Fajardo.
I'm one in almost a million that survives from something like that.
This is the video the Riverside County DA is hoping will go viral. The story of 25-year-old Alex Gonzalez.
The doctors told my grandparents and everyone to say bye that day.
And 21-year-old Selena Cervantes.
But it was mostly third-degree burns.
Scarred for life in a butane honey oil or BHO explosion. Security video from that day shows the excruciating pain caused by their burns.
The word needs to get out. This is very dangerous, and this really does need to get out.
It's devastating to be the one that, did it, and that's just something you have to deal with every day.
It's one of 3 public service announcements drawing attention to a growing problem. Ordinary people like Gonzalez trying to extract THC from marijuana in order to get a cheaper and stronger high. Trouble is, the process uses butane gas, which is so flammable, every single county in Southern California has reported honey oil explosions in the past year.
People need to understand that this substance and the process used to make it takes lives. It hurts people forever.
Gonzalez is speaking out as part of a plea deal, but years of surgeries, agony, and bouts of depression have taught the couple some consequences are worse than prison.
This can change your life in just 1 second.
In Riverside, Christy Fajardo, CBS 2 News.
Now, I also have some pictures in regards to different things that happen with these vape devices. Recently, there was a story in Texas for William Eric Brown. He purchased a vape mod, and the minute that he tried to get it to open, it exploded. He He died 2 days later after being in a medically induced coma. The medical examiner said that part of the vape was lodged in his throat. It had severed his left carotid artery and had damaged his skull. The official cause of death was a cerebral infraction and herniation due to dissertation of left internal carotid artery due to penetrating trauma from an exploding vaporized pen. Now, how this applies directly to Aberdeen. We're going to talk about statistics that have been reported to the police department that we have. So in 2016, there was 12 total citations for a total of $1,170 for those citations. 2017 is 10, $975. Any guesses for 2018 how many citations were issued?
30. More than
136, which means $13,260 were paid. In the 2015 National Youth Tobacco Survey, within the last 30 days, 620 middle schoolers said that they had vaped. And
620,000?
Correction, sorry, yes. And this is in 2015. If you were to imagine that this would be based off of 2018, I guarantee you that number would be over 1 million. And in 2015, high schoolers, it was 2,390,000. The Aberdeen American News on December 11th actually posted a story in regards to vaping from Roncalli High School. They said that from the total responses that they had, 152, that 19% or 29 people said that they have vaped, and 7% said that they still vape. The reason I also like to point this out is Jeremy Atkins, the prevention counselor and addiction services for Central High School, stated, when we look at the devices and the flavors that they are promoting, you can tell that they're marketing to teens. It doesn't make sense for companies to design products in the way that they are unless they're targeting adolescents. This is an example of that. These are vaping devices that are out there in the market. I don't know why an adult would want one that's looking like it's supposed to be an inhaler, a highlighter, or a Sharpie. And then if you look at the different flavors, it's to market towards younger adults and to those teens. Now, for South Dakota, we have a few different laws that this goes to as well. Tobacco products includes vapors. It is unlawful include to sell, distribute tobacco to anyone under the age of 18. It's a Class 2 misdemeanor, and then also the Central High School Code of Conduct. Any questions?
So go ahead. So I just want to say thank you. Nicole didn't have an opportunity to really explain, but I think earlier when you gave us an opportunity or gave me an opportunity to kind of talk about the problem in vaping, I knew that I would have to bring in some experts that deal with it on a daily basis. And Nicole teaches DARE. She's taught for several years and kind of leads the department's efforts in education and prevention within the schools and our youth programming. Jeff has been a school resource officer for 15 years, so they're on the front lines dealing with this on a daily basis. And it is a problem, and I know that they look at it in several different ways. We're fortunate at the school level to have somebody, a prevention specialist, but we're open for different strategies and different programs to combat this problem. And with that, we'll have any other questions.
I'm curious, the 136 violations that got citations, how do we end? Is that reported by authorities, or we happen to see them by accident, or how does that happen?
Jeff, I'll let you answer that. What's your daily activities involved, and how often does vaping occur?
During my day, I roam the hallways, I go into the bathrooms at times, but most of those are from either teachers catching them using, whether they be in the bathroom is one of the biggest places. These things are so small and discreet, and they don't, the vape pods, they do not emit a big giant puff of smoke. They're doing them right in class, and they're passing them to each other in class. So the teachers are smart. I've shown them examples of what they look like, because there's all kinds of different ones, as you can see by our presentation. They're catching these, they're catching them in the bathroom. I wrote another one today, because and other kids are telling us, the adults, about kids that have them. Some of the kids are, I would say most of the kids don't want them there. It's an epidemic. They'd rather not see these kids have them in the school. I guess Officer Barstead, I was just talking with him before the meeting tonight, and he had talked kind of off the record to a student, and that student told Officer Barstead that because we are kind of patrolling the bathroom so much, now they're going out into their cars in the parking lot to vape out there because we're catching them. And I've written kids, the one I wrote today, this is his 3rd ticket this year. Most I wrote a kid, I think 4 or 5 tickets now this year. And $97.50 for each ticket. It's a chunk of cash for a 15, 16-year-old kid.
Any else questions?
So, yes, so I'm wondering, Nicole, you run the DARE program. That's the 5th grade, right?
We actually teach 5th grade, 7th grade, and 9th grade.
Oh.
I primarily teach the 5th and 7th grade.
Okay. So it is getting all the way up into the high school.
Absolutely. My 5th graders are even aware of vaping and have seen it present. When I talk to my 5th graders, we go into a full class about drug and alcohol use. And this year, they are now including, without me prompting, vaping as a drug for it because of the side effects for it. So I now am talking to my 5th graders about diacetyl and popcorn lung for them to start to understand that there is a health effect from it. It's not as safe as everybody assumes that it is because it's supposed to be the safer alternative to smoking. The only safe alternative to smoking is not to smoke. And that's what I'm trying to inform my 5th graders on.
Yeah. Have we had any citations for selling to under 18s or distributing? Or are all the citations for use?
Use and possession. That's all. They're very tight-lipped. They don't want to disclose who they're getting them from.
So you think they're mostly getting them from older people buying it for them, not
so.
from retailers selling illegally?
Right. I believe it's from those that are 18 and above are buying for these kids.
Also on that same note, though, when I was preparing my presentation, I went to several websites, and all you had to do was click a box to say that you're over the age of 18.
Okay.
So there's no real verification from it. And one of the things that we had posted was the not nicotine-free that was in my slideshow was actually taken from one of the websites. They're also in the business to make money, so their only safeguard is to click a button saying that you're over the age of 18 before you purchase their products.
Have we seen anything from the medical community about things that have been showing up with kids?
I can't recall if this was from Aberdeen, but I believe somewhere in South Dakota that there was a news article of someone who was vaping and also had alcohol and caused their throat to severely bleed and had to be rushed to surgery. I can't remember which article that was from.
So you talked about vaping tongue?
Vapor's tongue?
What's that?
Vapor's tongue, and I wish I had the picture of it. It's a really bad coating. It kind of looks like your tongue turns to cauliflower. And it's just because of the vapor that goes in it, because of all of the ingredients that are in it, it dries out your tongue.
Okay. Have you seen any kids with?
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
So the $97 fine, do we, Ron, do we have a way to make it so that the fine will increase? Like the second time you get a fine, it's twice as much, and the third time it's 3 times as much? Is there something we can do? I guess, the reason that I asked this question initially was, what can we as a council do to help stop this or help discourage this? We, we obviously passed our ordinance that said you can't use these until you're 18, which is why these children are getting the fines. What more can we do?
Well, my understanding it's a Class 2 misdemeanor, so the maximum penalty is a $500 fine and/or a 30 days in jail. Of course, with these minors, that's not something that they'll be seeing. But I would assume that for repeat offenders, and if the court chose to, the court could certainly increase those penalties. I do need you to understand that because these are minors, it becomes very difficult from a monetary standpoint, to force compliance, because obviously they're children, they may not be employed, so that is not necessarily the best hammer to be using either.
Sure. Kind of on the same note, I talked to the state's attorney's office. Typically with the citation, you also have a court appearance of what the process looks like after that, and I believe that there might have been talk of imposing more community service hours, the more citations that you get, That's kind of for that same thing as a lot of kids, 13, 14-year-olds that are getting citations, don't have a job, and obviously somehow 2018 we got $13,000 from it. So the one thing that the kids can do is community service. So there was talk about trying to do that, but I don't know where that stood as of recently.
Do you believe there's any other educational ideas out there that we could use?
I certainly believe so, but as a DARE officer, it's you get the attention of some students and then some other students who don't think that what we're talking about is legitimate or not. That's why I enjoy talking about this with my younger students, so they learn how to make these smart choices. But I think that as much as we can do, especially for the high school age, it's, well, if my friends are doing it, it's okay. That's the biggest proponent.
Do you see this as a bigger issue than teens just smoking or alcohol?
I'd say this because they're doing this in class. I've heard from several students myself that, well, so-and-so is doing it in class when the teacher had their back turned because they think that it's funny and they know they can get away with it. You can't necessarily do that with a cigarette or a bottle of beer or wine or any type of alcohol.
But outside of the classroom, is this a bigger issue than underage drinking and underage smoking?
I would say so. Just because we've also seen the vapes that have marijuana in them. We have several of those confiscated at the police department, so it's easy to turn from the e-liquid to any other type of drug as well. So I would say so from my standpoint of what I have seen that yes, this is a bigger issue.
So do we do any stings like we do for alcohol commercial establishments that maybe are selling these to teens?
I don't think we have.
The state on an annual basis does a compliance, and they go through, it's usually occurring in the summer months. They've done it for many, many years, and I don't know what success they enjoy with that, but certainly we could look at doing more of those relative to that.
Earlier you said that it was like your third or fourth ticket you wrote up an individual for. Are you basically seeing that it's the same individuals who you're constantly going after, or do you see multiple? I mean, at 136 tickets last year, there are multiple people, but like, again, is it basically the same people who are getting caught more frequently, or are you starting to see it spread?
We're starting to see it spread. There are a few that are getting multiple tickets, but by and large, it's just a lot of different people, and they're getting involved with it.
Any other questions? Anybody?
So what's the attitude of the offender?
They shrug their shoulders. You know, I ask them, do you have a job? Some do, some don't. And they know darn well if they don't have a job, then it's probably mom and dad that are going to pay the ticket unless they get community service.
They just don't care.
Yeah.
They don't see the big picture of it. They don't understand why it's a big deal. When I talk to my 7th grade students about it for our vaping, because we go into kind of a bit depth about it. Well, what's the big deal? It's safer than smoking, is what I'm often told.
So the
They don't understand it.
marketing message has been effective, because I mean, if you, I don't know about everyone on this council, but if you remember when you were a teenager, and there were probably things that you thought were acceptable, and until you get older, you realize that that's not the case. But so the marketing has been very effective. What's that?
I want to know what you're talking about.
No, we're not going there. The marketing message has been good. So how do we counteract that?
Far more citations for vapes than just cigarettes this year. I think I've written maybe 2-3 citations for just cigarettes. By and large, it's the vape pens. And it's just taken over.
Is it predominantly at the high school, or have you seen this in the middle schools as well?
Predominantly in the high school, but there are some middle school. I know Officer Majeski has written some. I've written one to a middle schooler. The parents found it at home, and called me up.
Boys and girls both?
Yeah,
I'd say
more. I think a few more guys than gals, but gals are enjoying it too.
Anybody else with questions? We know more than we did 20 minutes ago, so.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Thanks very much.
Keep up the good work.
And I think too, if you have suggestions for us, because you're there, you know what's happening. If you have suggestions for us, how we can do something more to help you deal with that, help you discourage those students from doing it, let us know. Because, that's why we asked you to come here. That's what we want to know. So keep that in mind. Thank you.
Okay. No one else has signed up for the open forum?
Correct.
Correct? Okay. Then that would lead us to old business. Offered for second reading tonight, ordinance establishing administrative appeals process that passed without objection last week. Passed unanimous vote, I guess. I would entertain a motion for final adoption.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunsness, second by Lunsman. Any adjustments or comments you need to make here?
No, Mayor, I did want to, I did not receive any comments opposing or supporting it, but I did want to point out I've actually kind of been racking my brain as to the kind of more mundane issue that might invoke this particular appeal, because really the vast majority of what the decisions our city officials make are already covered in other procedures, other appeal outlets. But one that occurred to me was if the council is aware, we had a city patron conduct policy that's been adopted, and that would be one of those where if someone was dissatisfied with the determination of the city manager for a patron consequence, that would be one, for example, that they could appeal to the administrative appeals process.
Any questions on final passage? Carl?
Councilmember Remley.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Slate Hansen.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Bunsness.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Rux.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye. Motion carries. This item is not on the agenda, but Councilmember Slate Hansen has a motion she would like to make here now.
So in regards to our charter revision ordinance that we discussed last week, and I request that we table that so we could set up a subcommittee. And now I'm asking us to bring that back off the table. I'm making a motion to bring that back off the table so we can
Second.
discuss it. Thank you.
Motion Slate Hansen and second by Bunsness. And Mr. Ronayne, it's my understanding that now that we have it on the table, that our expected procedure here will be to, since it is on the table with a motion and a second to pass, that if we vote to not pass this, then we can hear from you as to what your commission might. So I would entertain a no vote on this so that we can move on. It's obviously your option. But the motion is to set up the commission as defined by the discussion last week. All those in favor of that, say aye. Opposed, no.
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 So we have disposed of that through Robert's Rules of Order. Rob, you want to tell us what your group of three has in mind going forward?
The group of three. And the city attorney, the group of four. Well, I think after batting this around, I think as a subcommittee, we would like to take a run at putting together some suggested amendments ourselves to the charter. Then our plan would be to bring those back to the council for its consideration, and if the council adopted those with or without amendments, we would then present those to the voters sometime. Don't you ask for a date. We want a little time to do these.
I'm flexible on the date.
But we'd like to get into it, and then we can probably come back to you after a few weeks and give you an idea how much additional time we think we need. But we just kind of talked about a plan and a procedure, and we haven't gotten into the weeds on it at all. But I think we think that maybe we are better positioned to recommend changes to the charter at this point than appointing a new group that doesn't have the familiarity that we think we have.
Okay. So since this isn't an agenda item, wouldn't be proper to hold a vote on this, but we can go forward unless there is an objection expressed by the council.
Well, our plan actually is to put this on the agenda in an upcoming week, and Ron will prepare a real motion for consideration to constitute the board or the subcommittee, and empower it to act in the manner that I've described.
Okay,
And so we
anybody
will bring it back.
with an objection to doing what's just described? So be it. We'll do that and anticipate what you bring us. Next item on the agenda is
Mayor, I don't think we've approved the minutes from last week's meeting yet.
We didn't. All right. Let's do that then. I'd entertain a motion for that.
So moved. Second.
Motion Ruck, second by Olson. If there are no changes or corrections, all in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. So then, consent calendar, items A through G.
Move to approve.
Motion Slade Hansen, second by Lunsman. Questions on any of them?
I noticed in the public library minutes that they referred to the wrong architect firm that was dealing with the roof over at the library, so
Funny.
Okay.
don't want to give any bad publicity to the wrong firm.
I will call them and ask them to correct that.
Thank you.
Good. Any other questions, comments? All in favor of approving them then with that provision, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 5 under new business is relating to performance reviews, and there are actually 2 requested actions by the council under this item. One would be to ratify the 2017 performance reviews, and the other would be establishing a subcommittee to complete the 2018, and that comes from the city attorney. Ron?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, the purpose of the motions is really just to conclude the performance years. For those of us who are your employees, we like to think of this a matter of years. And so we'd like to conclude the 2017 performance year and have you work to conclude the 2018 performance year.
Moved. Second.
Motion Bunsen, second by Rux for our first motion under this item, and that would be ratifying the 2017 performance reviews. Questions or comments on what we're doing here? If not, all in favor of doing that, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Second item, Ron?
And again, that would be to establish a subcommittee. And I would imagine it might be comprised of the same people in the past, but a subcommittee to complete the 2018 performance reviews for city manager, finance officer, and city attorney.
So moved.
Second?
Motion Olson, second by Bunsness. I have a blank here where it says by. I'm assuming we need to put a date in there.
Thank you, Clint.
You don't have to, but it would be nice.
Okay.
I was going to say, that one didn't come from me.
No, I know. I'm teasing.
Was someone from the council involved in this like to put in at least a working date?
How about April 1?
April 1, all right. We'll make that part of the motion. Questions or comments on the motion? All in favor of it then say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next item, bids for water mains and various other stuff. Robin?
Pardon me, Mayor. Did you appoint then the same committee from last year?
That was the assumption, yes.
Thank you very much.
You have the bid tabulations in front of you for the materials for our utility department to do their work for the summer. We did include the bids from both 2018 and this year to allow you some comparison. There's probably no way you're going to be able to get anything out of that other than noticing that our bid prices are less than last year. That's probably based more on quantity than it is on the bid price. Bottom line is that if you take a look at the comparison, I think on the larger bid, the $107,000 bid with Core and Main, you will find that 3 of the bids were within 2% of each other, which is the bidding is very tight on these types of materials. There's very little profit margin for them. Highly competitive environment that they're trying to sell us their product. So we feel we got good bids. Regardless of the comparison to last year, we're within budget, and they are spread out between 3 or 4 different utility departments. So we would recommend Schedule A to Core and Main and $107,291. Schedule B to Core and Main for the fire hydrants for $38,103. Schedule C to Ferguson Waterworks out of Fargo for manholes and inlets. And Schedule D to Ferguson for $3,877.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion Johnson, second by Slade Hansen. Questions on any of these bids or recommendations? All in favor of approving all 4 then say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion carries. Next, Robin, bids related to the Klein Street project.
Okay, this, it's kind of a misnomer. The Klein Street is actually 15th Avenue running from basically Klein Street to State Street. We will go through State Street so that we won't have to disrupt traffic again in that area as we proceed, because this has to go all the way to Dakota Street before we complete that portion. There is also a piece to the north of the railroad tracks that we will take to 2nd Avenue. There is some concern about the condition of that as well, and that goes all the way up to 9th Avenue. So we'll take bits and pieces in both directions now. Lynn would like us to be done with this, and I'm afraid we're just not quite there yet, but we'll keep pecking away at it as budget's available. The price is very attractive. Again, we had 2 bidders. B&B was the low bidder in the amount of $1,137,832, and we recommend approval. A little over $100,000 of that will be billed back to Northern for their portion of some of the sanitary sewer and storm sewer associated with their new football stadium.
Move approval.
Second.
Motion Rux and second by Bunsness. Questions on this, anybody? Clint?
What was the budget? What did we budget for this?
This is approximately 300,000 less than what we anticipated.
Yeah, 1.4.
Yeah, I just didn't know if we budgeted 1.4 because, again, you know, with 300,000 less, you know, if we could eke out another block.
And that has been the discussion with Lynn. We'll see if the need is there. We may request that to take another block so that we can eliminate some of those concerns.
Okay. Lynn?
From a budgetary standpoint, Robin made reference to it that we still have another section left. For the most part, we fulfilled our pledge for the injunction that was filed against us probably 6-7 years ago. And I know that there's probably additional work that will need to be done on the Klein. And so instead of having it be an annual improvement, you'll see where I'll probably change it to a biannual improvement where we continue to do storm sewer, but in the same thought process, being we do a major highway project every other year, I think I'll try to schedule the storm sewer opposite of a major road improvement, and then we can still see continued improvement throughout the city. And it's financially feasible then to make it work.
Great.
Any other questions on the motion? If not, all in favor of approving that bid amount, $1,137,832 to B&B Contracting, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. And then item D, bids for accessible quadrant improvements. Robin?
As usual, this is our annual project. We are well under the budgeted amount. I believe we have $180,000 budgeted for this year. We always try to make sure we're under. We will try to maximize the amount of work we can get done within budget. That's how we approach this. The prices are very attractive. We had very competitive pricing, 3 different bidders. And as you can see, it's fairly close in the bidding process, within 3-4%. We're recommending approval of the bid to Wright and Sudlow in the amount of $112,903.
Moved. Second.
Motion Johnson, second by Lunsman. Any questions on this one?
How many quadrants do we get out of $112,000?
Out of $112,000, we're probably getting maybe 18. We're trying to get up in that 30 range, 6, 7, 8 intersections per year.
Okay.
Doesn't sound like a lot, but we're moving in the right direction.
Clint?
What guarantees do we have that this work will be completed? Because I know last year we were scrambling to get done with curb and gutter also from the same contractor.
We have each one of these contracts will be set up with their own completion dates and deadlines, and they know that that's the intention behind it. As long as they are able to start these without us impeding them. If we hold them back for some reason, then there's probably going to be an issue. But for the most part, they're clamoring to go to work early in the year. You can see what our chances are for an April 1 start, but they're going to start as early as they can, and we've given them ample time to be able to work this in.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor of approving that to Wright and Sudlow then, $112,903, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. The next item is bills submitted for approval, and in addition to what you have been provided, a late addition is an NVC bill for $457.
Moved.
Second.
Motion Busness and second by Slade Hansen. Questions on any of them? Carl, roll call, please.
Councilmember Rux.
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Bunceness.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Slade Hansen.
Aye.
Lunsman.
Aye.
Ronayne.
Aye.
Remley.
Aye.
Mayor Leveson.
Aye, motion carries. Lynn?
I have no oral
Okay.
report this evening.
Robin, I see on our bills, there's a $40 refund of a snow removal ticket. Leads me to maybe ask you and the chief how we've been doing with compliance during our snow removal events as far as parking.
I can speak to the review process. I know that we have a steady stream of reviews that come in, and that usually pauses the ticket and its payment for at least 10 days in our system. I can't tell you how many we have, but I know people are using that. And we do, avoid the tickets. There are some situations that are unavoidable for people that have medical emergencies, family emergencies, so we're pretty forgiving. But in our system, the public should know we keep meticulous records. So if we've given you previous voids, and we even write down the excuse. So if we see a repetitive thing, we know that maybe that's not necessarily
Fool us
something
once,
that-
shame on us twice.
Yeah. I know that one thing the city attorney's office really does when they do the voids is they really make a strong emphasis in citizens investing in the city's notification system, and that's really been we've gained more and more users on that, and I know Lynn has purchased more users for that account, and Lynn could speak to that. So we're getting more investment from the community on that system, and is making a difference. But unfortunately, we're still writing tickets.
I will tell you that I did not compare these last two storms to previous. I do believe we have gotten better. Obviously, people are getting in better practice because I think this is our 8th official this year that we did on Saturday. So there's some practice. People are getting that repetition down. Usually the first couple are really a surprise to people, and people get tired of getting these tickets. When our process goes well, and there's a lot less tickets, our snow removal process improves by a few hours, going from like 6 o'clock in the afternoon to 3 in the afternoon. So it's a significant deal for us if we can keep these vehicles off the road. Bottom line is, I think we have improved a bit. We've been able to complete in a little better time frame the last couple snows. So I think the word's out there, and I think Lynn has shown that the numbers have gotten better for the notification, the people signing up for texts and emails and stuff. And those have been going out, and I think we get less calls on that periodically. Now more of the calls are related to other things related to snow removal. So,
okay, thanks both. Are we done? Mike?
At our CBB meeting, it was brought up that they would like to see the city address maybe a parking problem that may exist during the state bees in and around the Barnett Center. If I could just ask Robin to maybe explore that, make sure that our parking isn't being restricted because of all this snow down there. And of course we want a nice experience for the fans that come up to Aberdeen.
in the past, what we've done, we've tried to that week before go in and try to widen streets out as much as we can. So we'll try to limit parking in certain areas so we can widen streets out. It's a good point that we probably should be looking at that, because there's a lot of on-street parking that go all the way back to Dick Drive, Royal Road, 14th, 15th Avenues. There's a lot of on-street parking in those areas, so we will need to do some things to dress that up. And there are stuff around some of the other schools, Simmons on 13th Avenue, 14th Avenue. Some of those have really narrowed up, and I'm getting complaints from those areas too. So,
Actually had the opportunity to speak to the superintendent about this very item on Saturday morning, and he indicated that we had made up some special signs to clear restricted roadways in the past, and those signs still exist today, so we're prepared at a certain point to go out and actually widen some of those areas.
I should know this, but with the winding, does that also around include, like at the intersections where we're starting to see beyond 3 foot of snow for the visibility clearance? Because that could probably, if the city has authorization to take some snow off those intersections, that would probably help.
Yeah, it would definitely be an improvement if we could do that.
Okay. Anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion Bunsen, second by Rex to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.